In today's episode of the series, we'll take a look at line-incompatible pedals that recreate artifacts of old gear, and also effects that degrade your signal via synthesis and modulation. A perfect example of this, and definitely the deepest example of this, is Chase Bliss Audio's Generation Loss Mark II, which has all of the qualities that a functioning analog device would give you, and also all the qualities that a failing analog device would give you. So things like saturation, let's play this riff coming from the bass station. I'm gonna turn this pedal on, saturate. Maybe add a little bit of noise here. Heavy noise. There's also flutter and wow, so let's turn this up. As well as failure. So this is like as if the analog device is just completely failing on us. It's like a broken analog device. And you can hear it almost as if like the tape is sort of skipping on us. It's doing that sort of thing. This model knob changes the sound substantially. So what I'm sifting through here are different types of tape emulations. So things like a Walkman, cassette, dictaphone, camcorder. So you're just getting all these different analog textures. Oh, kind of like this one. Take the saturation down a bit. Turn it off. This is where we started. It's just completely different texture. So at this point, whatever tape machine is being emulated is a complete piece of shit. Now there's some other examples of this lo-fi analog device emulation in this collection, and it's right here in front of us, Source Audio's Artifakt Lo-Fi Elements. The first one we'll look at is radio, so let's play this new riff, and I'm gonna turn this on. That's the sort of effect that we get. So modulation depth, if I turn that up, I could change the rate of that modulation as well. So this sort of gives us like a tapey quality, not quite. So it's almost like a warbly quality. Destruct. This adds like a sort of noise. There's a filter as well. And then if I change the bandwidth, with low bandwidth, this really sounds like a crappy radio. And then, of course, there's a mix knob here. So if I take it off completely, and if I slowly sort of mix that in, it almost sounds like it's a chorus effect until I get to 100% mix right here. There's also tape mode, and depending on like the combination, the mix of each of these knobs, it gives you all these different sorts of effects. So I'm basically just gonna run through a bunch of these and see what we can get here. So right away, this sounds maybe a bit like a chorus or a flange-ish. That's definitely some sort of saturation. Let's play with this bandwidth here. Some sort of slappy delay. Oh. That's a longer delay. Turn the mix up. Bring it back down. Okay, interesting. So playing with the modulation along with this delay, if I bring down the rate or bring up the rate of this modulation, that's affecting the delay that's happening here, right? So there's just so many different options that we could go with here. That's with no mix. Let's bring the mix back up again. This is all within tape mode. And if I spin this over to vinyl mode, let's see what this gives us. So I'm going to turn all this back down. Destruction seems to be some sort of vinyl noise. Now we're sounding more like a broken vinyl. Turn the mix up. So that's the flavor that we're adding to this riff, the initial riff. Ooh, stepping into some phasery territory. So this sounds almost more like a guitar pedal. I mean, it is a guitar pedal, but it does work well on synths. Let's bring that release up. Let's see how it reacts to longer notes. Okay, we've got some warble action going on here, right? So we're basically recycling similar effects that are happening here, but it's just a different flavor. I would say that this is leaning a bit more into guitar-y world, in my opinion. There's also a glitch element on this preset right here. Basically with this preset, it's always listening and basically recording. So if I hit stop on my riff, there's like a granular sort of thing going on. It's caught a little part of the riff, and now it's chopping it up in different ways. Definitely the most diverse pedal on this list. It covers every single category. This glitch mode is an evolution of the glitching noises produced by skipping CDs, and therefore is digital rather than analog. The other two most common digital lo-fi effects are bit crushing and sample rate reduction. Our next pedal, the Meris Ottobit, is an inspiring device that offers all of these effects from the digital domain, producing sounds reminiscent of old video games or early digital recordings, plus glitching and some other rhythmic options. As I mentioned, you could get rhythmic with it with the stutter functions. Let's play the same riff, turn this off, turn this back on, turn the stutter function on. I'm gonna take that sample rate reduction down a little bit. Right, so we could choose the subdivision that we want to stutter. So that's a smaller subdivision. But if we want random, let's see what this gives us. So this is sort of randomizing that stutter subdivision. Let's make this a bit more rhythmic. I'm gonna take this release down. We could also play with sequencer and sequencer multiplier. So right now, I guess this would be called the default setting. There's also a pitch sequencer as well as a filter sequencer. So let's try default, just turning this on. And now let's try pitch, or sorry, there it is. We'll bring up this release now. Oh my God. So it's kind of hard to tell, but there is some pitch sequencing going on there. If we go to filter sequencer, there's clearly a filter happening there. Let's reduce the sample rate again. The sequencer coincides with the tempo as well. So if I change this tap tempo, right, so that opens up the sequencer a little bit. We have some changes happening there. Ottobit Jr. works great on melodic riffs. Because it has this sort of rhythmic aspect to it though, I personally think that it really shines on drums, and also the sample rate reduction and bit crusher work especially well with sharper transients like drums. Here we have our drums. Just with the stutter alone, we're getting some stuttering going on here. I personally like random all the time. Ooh. Yes. Maybe a bit of bit crushing. Maybe just a tad. And then sample rate reduction. You could almost use the stutter as like a fill function, so every so often. Tasty. And that concludes this feature and comparison video. You can see the full demo, including 2 more pedals, the Red Panda bit map and the Catalan Bread bitters, at the link in the video's description.